And yesterday, we had a groundbreaking for Memorial Hospital for the new cancer center going just south of their current building. It is going to be a huge project, and again, focused on cancer. It was an excellent event yesterday. We did the shovel breaking and turning, and we found out that Commissioner Seipel now is 9 years free of cancer. Wow. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, Memorial.
Yeah, right? Okay, we have a proclamation for Rick Case.
9 years.
I'm gonna, come on up, I'm gonna come down.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I'm coming down.
Just come here, that's all, just come here, however you wanna get here.
Thank you. I think this is 25 proclamations we've given you. We appreciate your support of our city and all of you do, and all that you do. This is Rick Case Jr. Ryan. Okay, this is a proclamation again. City of Pembroke Pines, Rick Case Bikes for Kids Days. Whereas 39 years ago, the Bikes for Kids program was started by Rita and Rick Case in conjunction with the local Boys and Girls Club to distribute new and pre-owned bicycles during the holiday season to those children whose holiday may be less than bright. And whereas this program teaches kids a valuable lesson about the joys of giving as well as providing a much appreciated gift for children who might otherwise not hope to receive such a present. And whereas throughout the program's history, more than 125,000 bikes have been donated to Cleveland, Atlanta, and South Florida. And whereas this contribution is significant in terms of effort and spirit by all who participate in this worthwhile project. And whereas it is hoped that thousands more bicycles will be received and given to deserving children again this year. And whereas the City of Pembroke Pines sends congratulations and celebrates the 39th anniversary of the Bikes for Kids program. Now therefore, I, Frank Sears, as Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, do hereby proclaim December 1st, 2021 as Rick Case Bikes for Kids Day and commend these hardworking young people and the Case family for their unselfish dedication to this program and encourage our residents to support this outstanding project in every way you can. Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, all.
Sure.
And if any of your friends or family have bikes, please bring them down to us. We'll get them to a child for the holidays. Bring them to any one of the stores, please, and let all your friends know. We need all the bikes. Everybody needs a bike. Remember your first bicycle?
Yeah.
That was a great experience. You were free. You were out on the road. You were riding. Everybody deserves that experience.
And then they buy cars.
Well, that's just a plus.
Okay, Ryan, congratulations.
You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may say something real quick?
Sure.
So Brian, before you go, I just want to say thank you for what you and your family do for our community. I do want you to know that beyond the bikes, your father has left a legacy with us. I got to tell you, I really very much appreciate the autograph book that I have, you know, Our Customer, Our Friends. It's a great book. I encourage anybody here to read it. If you really want to know about good customer service, read that book. And you also learn a great legacy about both your father and your mother. So thank you for everything that you do for this community. Really do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
may I
Commissioner
say
Seipel.
something, Ryan, before you leave? I just want to tell you a short little story. A young boy who received a bike last year asked this year, could he get another one because he had outgrown it, but he didn't want to have to give it back because he wanted to surprise his younger brother and give it to his younger brother, and could he keep it to do that with?
Oh, that's fun.
So I think that that's really kind of cool stuff where they're not thinking of just getting for themselves, but how can they also then share out
That's
in
beautiful.
the family. So
Community, it's a big circle.
it is. The smiles on their faces are just incredible when they are, it's like, are you kidding me? Is this really mine? And can I really keep it? That's cool. Thank you.
Thanks
Wonderful.
again. Congratulations.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Commissioner,
our friends from Pembroke Shores are here on their item, number 14.
okay,
If you wouldn't mind taking that out of order?
all right. But first, Mr. Soto, you want to come forward? Mr. Soto is our new chair of our Board of Adjustment, and I wanted to introduce him. Congratulations and welcome. Pull that mic down, please, and then push that button to speak. The button,
There's a
right
button.
in front of you, there you go.
I got it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, I have been with the Board of Adjustment since 2000 as a member, as a vice chair, and this last meeting, I was elected as chair. And I would like to basically thank all of you because you have given me your support on a constant basis. And needless to say, I am here also to extend my gratitude, but also to extend my request that if you do need something from our board, please, and I know you won't be shy about it, please send me the information and we will see what can be done.
All right,
If I may, Mayor,
go ahead, Commissioner.
thank you for your, I can't believe it's been 21 years, but
Yes.
at a recent meeting, you shared a very personal matter about the struggle that you've gone through in the last year. And I just want to thank you for doing that. It was very brave of you, to be quite honest, and extremely moving to know that we have residents in our city, despite trials and tribulations, continue to serve on behalf of our residents. With respect to your board, I do have a vacancy. I've been trying to find the right individual that can be an independent thinker. And the Board of Adjustment, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be a resident board. For years, there's been speculation that it might be suggested, and it takes 3 to make anything happen up here, for it to be combined with the Planning and Zoning Board. And I just don't think that is the right direction to go in. I also would encourage you, as being a past chair myself on the city's Economic Development Board, is to work with Director Mike Stamm on issues that you think could help improve the process, make things a little bit more efficient, a little bit more fair and consistent, so that we don't have, the day of the week, the soup of the month type of situation. And planning staff has done an excellent job over the last several years bringing things forward, which has quite frankly taken a lot of things off of your plate. A lot of the variances that were consistently coming forward, it just made sense to just, make things a little bit better. Making things better is what we try to do here. So I appreciate your enthusiasm, your compassion, your volunteerism, and however I could be helpful, Mr. Soto, I'm here for you. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much. And as I'd like to jump into that skateboard a little bit. And yes, we do have 3 members that are not permanent. They do represent most of you. And tomorrow, I was going to have the election for vice chair, and I'm going to suspend that until next month in January, until we have a full board. So I really would appreciate if you can take in consideration actually making those 3 substitute members as permanent, because they have been giving their best. And as such, they know the process, they know the requirements, the regulations, and the standards. And one of them used to be the city engineer. So I really would appreciate if you can basically come together and give me a full board.
Okay, Mr. Soto, we're going to work on it.
Thank you very much, and
All right.
have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, City Attorney, let's go right to item 14 if we could.
Mayor,
Commissioner,
yes,
Schwartz?
if it would be appropriate, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the lives lost in Michigan.
Let's have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Commissioner. Well done. Okay, item 14, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. On the record and out of sequence, but approved for consideration is number 14, which is discussion and possible action by the City Commission on the Neighborhood Gatehouse Revocable License Agreement between the City of Pembroke Pines and the Pembroke Shores Community Association. And there's backup documentation in the Green Book and also online for consideration and for review by the City Commission this evening. That's the motion for consideration. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Seipel, Commissioner Castillo, discussion.
Yes, I want to thank the city attorney and the city manager and their staff, and also the residents of Pembroke Shores and the Pembroke Shores Homeowner Association. This has been a thorny issue, a very unusual one for our city. I don't know that there has ever been an agreement quite like this before in our city. And it was entered into, I think, before any of us were here, maybe not. But it's certainly unique in the regard that of what it deals with. And the association has been working on this thorny issue for quite some time, and I want to thank them for it. This is not an easy issue to deal with. However, they came up with a way to honor their commitment to the city, which was entered into many years ago, in a way that does not hurt financially the homeowners. And I want to congratulate them for their ingenuity and their creativity. We have found a way to deal with this issue, and I am very much in support of this amendment, as are they, and I'm happy to move it for further discussion and for adoption. Thank you.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Second with Commissioner Seipel, discussion.
Yes, Mayor?
Commissioner Seipel.
I see that we have a number of folks from the community there. We have board members, president, and property, okay, cool. I do have, Mayor, I'd like to ask a couple of questions if I could, just so I understand.
Yeah, bring them up.
Whoever thinks they should answer. Okay. Okay.
Just have to push that button, so to speak. First of all, we need your name and address for the record. There you go.
My name is Margaret Morrell. My address is 692 Southwest 159th Drive.
Thank you very much,
Great.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here. As Commissioner said, this has been sort of a crazy kind of a situation for a long time. I think since 1998 or so was the original. 95 was discussions, and then nothing actually happened till like 98. And it is unique. I don't think we have anything like this anywhere in the city. And I do hope that we find this resolution that takes care of all the problematic portions of it go forward, but also is a good move for the city, but also is a good move for you all dealing with your residents, and to accomplish the right goals without there being huge financial impacts, which is obviously always a big concern when you're dealing with HOAs. So I guess one of my and correct me, Ms. Morrell, or city attorney, city manager, if I'm not correct on this, that when reading through this, my understanding of how it was originally was to be set up was that the community would be able to have 3 locations where you would have guard gates, and they would be, I hate to use the word manned, they would be staffed. We don't say manned, we staffed. They would be staffed. But that those roads that they were on were public roads. You do have some private roads within your community that we're not even discussing that part of it. And that these were to be, these were on the public road, which is kind of what started making it a little wonky for all. So I guess my question would be is if in fact you were permitted, and you were permitted to put these guard gates up, and you had the responsibility for the maintenance and all that stuff of them. But if it's on a public road, then the issue that I had was the public can't access through there. And I had heard that numerous times through some of these discussions, that was in fact a true statement. So I actually went there myself yesterday and went to three of the three-man staffed gates and said that I'm a resident of Pembroke Pines and I'm looking to move into Pembroke Shores, and I'd like to go through the community to see what it looks like. Would it be something I might like to, pursue further? And I was told at all three gates, you absolutely cannot go in there unless there's an open house, and you can call the number and the real estate agent will let you in. You can go in if you're a resident, and I thought if I was a resident, I wouldn't be asking you. And the other was if I knew someone in there that I could call who would say, it's okay, let her come through. And so I guess that's of concern to me, that how do you see going forward dealing with that part of it? I know that there was language in here, and I'm trying to remember if it was in the old or in part of this new amendment that allowed for your guard folks at the gate to ask to take a license number or to do something. Like the car would actually have to stop and all that. But then, City Attorney, my understanding is that that's not that is not a legal possible way, because you aren't really supposed to be stopping cars on a public street. So I guess I kind of have a two-part question. One is for Ms. Morrell, how do you plan on dealing with that going forward? And then City Attorney, can these cars actually be stopped
All right, Ms. Morrell?
on the road?
So, the first.
I know that's a lot, and I apologize.
No, that's fine. The first part has to do with what the security guard procedures are. And it was our understanding as residents and as an HOA is that they are not supposed to deny someone access. They can ask for an ID, they can take down information from the vehicle, but if the person says, I have no one to see, but I want to go through, eventually they should be able to go through. I'm actually very surprised to hear that you were stopped all three times.
All three times.
Because we have gotten a lot of complaints that our security guards let anyone through without even sometimes asking for an ID.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal is to privatize the streets.
All of your streets?
Yes, all of the streets, because like you are aware, we have some communities that are private streets and most of the community is public.
Right.
And then where the three guard gates are, those are public roads.
Right.
We don't want to have a disparity in our community. So we want all the streets to be private, and this is the first step to getting there. Our ultimate goal is to put together an action plan that will actually privatize the roads within the extended time that we are getting from you tonight, hopefully, that 5 years. So that's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
All right, your question to the attorney?
City Attorney?
If I may respond quickly, Mayor? The original agreement, Commissioner, which was executed and approved by the Commission in 1998, August 17, 1998, there's language specifically in the original document currently in place which says the following, and it's under the terms of operation. The general public and all municipal surface vehicles shall have the right to enter said subdivision at all times. If any person or vehicle is denied entrance into the subdivision by reason of the gatehouse, this license shall be subject to revocation by the city. It also goes on to state in section 12.3, that was in 12.1, licensee agrees that requests for identification or any inquiry made to a person or vehicle entering the subdivision through the gatehouse shall not prohibit that person's access to the subdivision. That's in the current document. You may remember there was a change in 12.3 to clarify particularly the section I just read about access. In the proposed agreement, which is the amendment in the backup as well, Commissioner Seipel, there's language which states the following. And this is in section 35.1. And it says, In addition to the provisions of Section 12 of this agreement, the licensee unequivocally recognizes that rights-of-way listed in the Exhibit A are public streets unless and until the city vacates its interest in the rights-of-way. The public and the city and city vehicles shall have unfettered access to all public streets at all times. So the language in the amendment is actually strengthens and re-embraces the language you referred to earlier, Commissioner Seipel, regarding public access. And to the extent that there's nothing in the original agreement or in the amendment which would deny the public a right of access to public streets and public roads within the subdivision, clearly in the base document and also refined and clarified in the amendment.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes, thank you. City Attorney, so make sure that I understand clearly. Going forward in the amendment, the staff that will be at these gates, and I know you're looking to reduce one of them, but the remaining ones would be permitted and would be allowed to stop a vehicle and ask for identification or something prior to them entering the community?
The original agreement provides for that issue to occur, but it does not allow the denial of access.
That's in the original, but in
Correct.
the amendment, what is the amendment speaking to on that?
It speaks of unfettered access, and that language is in what is referred to as Section 35.1, which is
Right.
the public and all city vehicles shall have unfettered access to all public streets at all times. So there needs to be some reconciliation as to how you get in the door.
Public, city vehicles are city vehicles, but
Absolutely.
John Q. Public is to have unfettered, which means they can no longer be stopped and asked for ID?
Technically, that's what the provision calls for in the amendment.
Is that your understanding, Ms. Morel?
If that's how you define unfettered, then that's how we will follow it.
Well, I guess I'm asking City Attorney.
That's the language, and that was the language that we chose to use in the context of making sure that there was no doubt about public access.
All right.
So if, I'm trying to find a way to make this work for you. So if in fact the amendment says unfettered, which means nothing, you don't stop anybody, why would you even continue to have staffed gates?
Per our governing docs, our HOA docs, we have to have staffed gates, security gates.
Okay, but
Not all virtual.
oh, okay, and I do remember reading that in there, that was a requirement that you had on there.
Yes.
But what would, if they're not allowed to, like when I drove up, they're not allowed to ask me anything unfettered, what would they do?
They would probably just, we have a system where they can probably just record an unidentified vehicle
Like my tag number or
entering.
something?
I don't know if they would take it.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, you would have to stop because there is a gate and a gate arm. So anyone, you can't just go through without stopping. If they don't want to provide an ID, if it's asked of them, they don't, the security guards are supposed to know not to force the issue,
Right.
but they can record a driver, a tag, and let them through.
So what, I guess what I'm trying to understand from the definition City Attorney gave, unfettered means, unfettered meaning I'll stop my car long enough for you to, whatever you're gonna do, take a picture, write it down, do something like that.
Mhm.
But I'm not gonna have conversation with you because you're not gonna ask me any questions. Is that,
Well-
I just want, the reason I'm asking this is I wanna make sure that going forward, that we're all on the same page and we know exactly what to
City Attorney, you want to
expect.
define it?
Well, to the extent that unfettered is a term of art that lawyers use and the contracts referred to, it essentially means unrestrained or uninhibited. That's what it means.
Okay.
So I guess then, Ms. Morel, how would you see that then, how would you then see that playing out
So
going
if
forward?
stopping at a gate is considered inhibited, that's going to happen, right? They have to stop at a gate because the gates are closed at all times. I don't know that the procedure for the guard is to ask or to speak to the driver. The driver can say, I'm just driving through. The guard is supposed to let them through, but it is a slowdown.
Right.
It's not, so it is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
slowdown of the process to get in. We would be willing to follow that procedure.
Well, and I'm not asking that you give that level of security, you know, that you have. I quite well understand that part of it. It just seemed like it has been, I thought it was this way, they thought it was this way, this thought it was, I just want to make sure that at this, because we're trying to do it the right way, and that's why I'm asking you these questions, is that we have a complete understanding of what to expect, because if this gets passed, and next week I go there again and I get stopped at three locations again,
Right.
I'm not going to be very happy about
So all I
that
can do
happening.
is tell you my experience. I have been a resident in this community for 25 years.
Mhm.
And at the very beginning, I recall that security would not let people through, you know, talking 1999, 2000, 2001. They would not let anyone come through unless someone answered and let them in. Then there was a change. I don't know what year it was, but there was a change because I believe our HOA and our security company realized these are public streets where we have a gate agreement to put gates up, but it doesn't mean that we can actually turn people away.
So what?
And that has been what I was under the impression was happening for over a decade.
So what would be then your direction, your board's direction to your security company going forward, if this is, approved this evening? What would, because you direct them as to what you want them to do.
Yeah.
What would be your direction, your board's direction to the staff at the gates?
So if it was acceptable to the commission, what I would say is you can ask for an ID, but if they refuse, you have to just let them through.
It's reasonable.
You cannot turn them around.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, and I think as much as I do believe unfettered means absolutely nothing, I don't think that's a realistic,
Not when you
I don't
have
think
gates.
that's realistic. No,
Yeah.
I don't think that's realistic. So your main goal is to get to where you're going to be able to save some dollars so that you can
Yeah.
move forward with, actually, your goal is to privatize.
Yes.
So my one last question for you is, in that whole process of getting to privatization, do you know, or I saw Mr. Kennedy was here, the current condition of the roads that are there, are they of the standards that they could be privatized almost immediately?
Yes, they're in very good shape, I don't know of any potholes, but maybe one or two areas, small areas with little,
Yeah, but I mean, there's a little bit more to it, and all that. So why, if that would be the case, why would you not want to do that sooner rather than a 5-year deal?
We do, but I think that the process to get ownership of the streets from the city, and I am not well-versed on this, but the process has a few steps to it, which I was told could take anywhere up to 24 months. There's something called the Safe Neighborhood Act, which is what our land use attorney said would probably be the best avenue to privatize the streets and to get ownership of the streets. And so that could take 2 years. So that's why we need a little bit more time to kind of get this going.
So would you be then agreeable to, I know you were asking for 5 years, and I'm assuming now, listening to what you're saying, that you're asking for that so that that's the outset in case things are a little bit longer.
Maximum time.
But would you be amenable to then, if this were approved this evening, that you would put in that 5 years or less or sooner, as whatever?
I think we requested that language, that it would be no more than 5 years. But we plan on, if this gets approved tonight, January, start a task force, a subcommittee, start, discussions with the land use attorney to kind of move this forward and figure out what the timeline and what the steps are.
All right, I think we're clear.
Great, well, I thank you, and I'm sorry that I asked so many questions,
Oh,
but
it's okay.
but
Thank
this
you.
is the time to ask them and get the understanding so that we can move forward and do it the right way. You don't have to come
Commissioner
back
Schwartz.
again for
Thank
something.
you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi.
9 years ago, I was elected. There was a section in my district that had it wasn't gate related, but it was privatize the road or a public road scenario. And these folks were told for years. There was just like, there was lack of leadership from that district seat to get things done. Brought it to the commission, and it took us legally, it took us about 2 years. Now, the community did have some challenges within that made it a little bit longer than the 2-year period. So I'm comfortable that you're going to be able to get this done well inside of 5, so long as everything goes well. And I'm happy to support this. I wish this had been done years ago, to be quite honest with you. I have friends in Pembroke Shores. It's a beautiful community. I'm always there. I'm happy to support the item. And when I saw it, I'm like, finally, we have some, we're going to get a little bit better. All right, thanks much.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Morales, for speaking on behalf of your community. And, whatever my colleagues, have a desire to do, I defer to their better judgment in regards to what happens directly within that community. I do want to ask a question in regards to traffic. And I don't know that if a traffic study has been conducted, because what you're doing is you're basically, looks like at this point, you're going to create a situation where all visitors are going to have to enter at least that portion west of Dykes Road from Pines Boulevard. Because all the entry on, if I'm not mistaken, on Dykes Road, west of Dykes Road, are all going to be automated or community-only access. Is that correct?
The manager is shaking his head.
No, there will, the way it's set up, there will be access to the western side of Dykes Road. There will be a gate where visitors can come in on Pines Boulevard. And on the east side of Dykes Road, there will be a manned gate where visitors can get into that community. So there'll always be availability for whatever purpose, delivery trucks or visitors to the community will have access through a staff gate.
Yes.
Okay. So again, maybe I better define, because I understand that. The gate that you're looking to turn from a woman's gate is Pembroke Shores and Dykes Road. Is that correct?
Yes, west
Okay.
side.
All right. So that means that there is no access for visitors to the west of Dykes Road into Pembroke Shores, except if you come from Pines Boulevard.
Well, if I may, we are looking at a virtual guard system for the gate that we are looking to convert. So it doesn't mean resident-only access. It could mean that there's a virtual guard, vendors can come in, service people can come in, and depending on what the system is, either they have a code to put in and they get through, or you call the resident and get access where they can open the gate for you. But the goal is not to have it only be resident-only access. We need traffic to go through there, through that side as well, because from west side of Dykes, that's the bigger part of the community.
Yes.
It's 800 homes.
Yes.
And so we don't want just one access through Pines Boulevard, even though that's the deepest entry into our community, so it can hold a backup of traffic of probably about maybe 8 to 10 cars before it hits Pines Boulevard. We certainly want this gate to have a virtual feature so that service people can come in, residents can come in, guests can come in.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate that, because that's what my concern was, because if you're bringing all your visitors, that's 2/3 of your community now would have to enter through one point, and we already know that Pines Boulevard is preferably avoidable at some points. So thank you.
All right. Further discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to put on the record
City
a few
Attorney.
quick items, and to respond to Vice Mayor Good and Commissioner Schwartz's inquiry and others, this document extends this agreement until September of 2027, which is essentially, the contract now expires on September of 2022. The end result is that, as Ms. Morel correctly states, it can be effectuated sooner. That means there's nothing in the document that requires the parties to go beyond the day. But it does require that if by the month of May of 2027, the applicant has to advise the city what its plan is. so that the city manager, city administration knows what to do operationally, because at the end of the contract period, the gates come down, irrespective of anything. But it leaves open, but it does provide notice and due process to all parties to figure out a way to get to the conclusion, the ultimate conclusion of which is to allow the roads to become private, but to do so in a manner which meets the city's requirements.
Okay, I think we understand it. Further discussion? All right, call the roll, please.
Mayor, if I may, I received a request from a resident to have their email read into the record for this item. The email is from Tammy Douglas. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, as a resident of the Pembroke Shores community, I would like to request that you support item 14 on tonight's agenda, which is requesting the extension of the gate agreement with an amendment allowing for one gate to become residents only. Your support of extending the gate agreement will allow the Pembroke Shores subdivisions with public roads, the estates of Pembroke Shores, Harborside, the beaches, and Angel Cove to put money away in their parcel reserves to take on the expense of privatization of the roads. In addition, the amendment will provide a significant cost reduction in security operational expense by allowing a change from a manned gate at Dykes Road, west side, to a residents-only unmanned gate. Please approve this amendment. Thanks. Tammy Douglas.
Thank you.
16411 Southwest First Court.
Okay, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much, everyone.
Mr. City Attorney, this is, that's it, right? There's only one reading on this item?
May I respond, Mayor?
Yes.
To the commission,
I
the
don't
answer
know.
is yes. This is not a vacation. This is not an ordinance. This is simply a motion to approve the amendment to the agreement, which will be recorded.
So it's done.
It's done.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Announcements of items to be pulled from the agenda, City Clerk.
No items, Mayor.
Items at the request of the public.
No items at the request of the public.
Announcement of board and committee appointments.
No announcements.
All right, consent agenda, items 1 through 11. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner
Mr.
Castillo,
Mayor, I'd like to.
seconded by Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull.
Okay, hold on a second. We have a motion. It was by Commissioner Castillo, seconded by Commissioner Schwartz. Now pulled.
No, Mayor, I didn't second.
Okay. What item would you like pulled, Vice Mayor?
Item number 11.
11?
11?
11 by Commissioner Good, by Vice Mayor Good. Okay, any others?
Number 3.
Number 3 by Commissioner Schwartz.
Number 8, Mayor.
Any others? All right, hearing none. Is it a public hearing? No. Is it a quasi?
None.
Okay.
Not
Then
tonight.
let's go to, I need a motion for item 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10.
So
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seipel. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, Commissioner Schwartz, item 3.
Motion to award IFB number PSUT 21-03 water meter installation project to the most responsible bidder, RTS Water Solutions LLC, in the amount not to exceed $4,105,730.99, which includes an 8.5% owner's contingency in the amount of $257,928.05 and owner's allowance in the amount of $800,355.30.
Second.
All right, is there a motion?
Yeah, that was my motion.
Motion by
Yeah.
Commissioner Schwartz, second by Commissioner Castillo. Discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Mr. Cooper, come on down.
He's in the front row.
Yeah, listen, this is a big deal, and I wanted to give Mr. Cooper an opportunity to let the public know about the delay. And I do have a question about the 8.5% contingency, and then the
What would you like first, Commissioner?
why the delay? I see in the backup, but the public may not know. We have a vendor who couldn't perform based on the price that was previously bid on, correct, sir?
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Cooper?
sir, there might be a bit of an echo. Could you repeat the question?
Can you tell your name and your title?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor and Commission, John Cooper, Utility Director.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes, current market conditions, RTS Water Solutions stated in August that they were no longer able to hold their original bid price. We went through a budget process in September. How did this impact the budget?
Mr. Cooper?
It increased our costs by $150,000.
Have we verified, I feel like I'm talking fencing again, Vice Mayor Good. Have we verified the actual material cost? What processes did we go through to ensure that the $150,000 increase is a $150,000 increase?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. We did our own research on the unit prices that were in question. We went directly to those manufacturers' representatives and got our own quotes, and they were exactly the same.
Okay, so when it comes to this $813,000 owner allowance, what's an owner allowance?
Yes, sir. I'm very glad for the question. We're all familiar with the contingency. Contingency is for what we don't know. An allowance is for what we do know, but we can't quantify. So in this particular case, the allowance is for a variety of in-field conditions that we can't possibly quantify unless we spent tens of thousands of dollars of labor going around to 16,272 water meters and determining how many of their angle stops could be bad or how many of their service lines are leaking. And of that, there are about a half a dozen unit prices that we asked for. And then we internally did a study with the field guys and gals, staff, and they gave us enough feedback for us to quantify a percentage of the total that we're hoping it's going to be enough. If it's not enough, we have to come back before you.
So the 813, was that the same 813 in August?
I'm sorry?
The $813,000 for owner's allowance, was that the same allowance back in August before this price increase?
That price increase did not affect that. We actually rounded that number down from 820. We refined it further, a little bit further.
Okay, and then typically we don't usually see 8.5% of owner's contingency. Why is this one a little skewed compared to most contracts?
Sir, meaning that you usually see 10%?
Usually.
Yeah, we perform a risk analysis of every project, and we take out the parts that don't have risk, such as administrative, general conditions, stuff like that. And we put the contingency only on the work. So that's how we come up with 8.5 on that particular project.
So with this project, I know that, Mr. Cooper, you've come forward in the past and you talked about the rollout and how things are going to go. And I think 5 years is pretty much where we've been floating around. Can you think of a way to get this done any sooner?
Yes, you could approve a budget for another $15 million next year.
Okay.
Is there a motion, Commissioner?
Well, no, it's not a motion for $15 million, no, sir, but,
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Mr. Manager?
not going to do that.
If I may respond, when this was presented at the budget time, the whole process was to do it 20% at a time, because you don't want to replace them all at one time.
Right.
Then in 20 years from now, you've got the expense of doing it all over again.
Right.
So we took, and what Mr. Cooper did is he did an analysis of all of those wait a minute, of all of the connections that they have that are old, the meters, and this is the first phase. Now, next year, it may be a little bit less based upon the age limitation. So that would be the reason why it's being phased in, not just to get them all done at one time.
Right, so, Mr. Cooper, this is kind of tied into our road and bridge fund, because we need to do this replacement before we put roads in, because otherwise we're tearing things up again, generally speaking. I know the meters are typically on property, but I do know that there's a massive project happening in District 1. District 2 certainly is older than those who are west of Hydas Road. So I see this phase-in, quite frankly, we need to do this sooner rather than later. And I've been thinking about ways that we could perhaps get to this sooner, but you're going to need additional capital. Is that pretty much the answer?
Yes, sir. Keep in mind that it takes some time to put these things together, and just very generally speaking, the idea was a 5-year rotation, and that would keep everybody's meter less than 20 years old.
Right.
But of course, you all are very educated on the subject, and you know that meters decline in accuracy. So we're actually giving away water if we don't do it sooner. So the sooner we do it, the more income, the better for the owner. But the plan was a 5-year rotation so that nobody had a meter more than 20 years old.
Okay. Commissioner Schwartz, you know?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Good?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say I've had some conversation with Mr. Cooper, and thank you very much for explaining some of my questions. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I very much understand what you're doing, and I appreciate the way that you're approaching this very complex, very expensive problem.
Thank you.
I also want to say that I'm very, very thankful that this is one of these projects where there is going to be substantial labor requirement, and that 30% of this project, I believe, is going to be by local folks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think that's very important for us to be aware of. And so I do appreciate you and the vendor working through that particular concern. That makes me feel even better about the project. So I just
yes, 30% local.
Yes, sir.
All right, great.
Thank you for that.
City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Good job, Ms. Cooper. All right, let's go right to item 8, Commissioner Seifel.
Thank you, Mayor. And it was A and B that I pulled, because I think I can speak to both of them. Motion to approve request to advertise solicitations, A, PSUT-21-06, Pines Village Water Main Improvements Phase 2 and Septic Tank Conversion, and B, PSUT-21-07, New Raw Water Supply Line between Water Treatment Plant and Eastern Well Field.
Okay.
And Mayor, may I go on?
Go ahead.
Okay. And the reason, and I did speak with Mr. Cooper, and I did also speak with Mr. Gonzalez about this, because I just had a couple questions that the reason that I brought it up, they answered my questions, but I think it's important that the public really understand, like, what's happening with this. I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, but when you're going out to advertise, it means you're getting ready to start really doing something. So could either Mr. Cooper, is he still here? Mr. Cooper, there he is.
Mr. Cooper,
Mr.
you're
Cooper.
wanted again.
We're on item 8, Mr. Cooper. And you and I had some discussion about this, A and B, the water main improvements, the phase 2, the septic tank and that part of it, and the new raw water supply line. And just briefly, I mean, you were able to answer my questions on how many, the numbers, what was happening there, but could you give like a real brief, like very brief, just so that the public can hear what it is that we're looking to advertise to do? I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, we're really now advertising.
John Cooper, Utility Director. Yes, ma'am, I'd be happy to. This is the Pines Village Phase 2. It is the second part of 2 parts, and the first part has been successfully completed. We brought new water mains. The old rusted problematic water mains are no more for 300+ residents, and their water meters have been moved to the front with new water meters and new street surfacing. looks very nice. The contractor did a great job. This project is much larger. It's approximately 1,000 houses. It's the same thing, same scope, rear yard water mains from 1958 being abandoned and new full-size fire protection, high-pressure water mains in the front, water meters in the front. In addition, thanks to Vice Mayor Good, there will be about 100 homes and commercial establishments currently on septic that will have their septic system abandoned properly per health department requirements and connected up to a brand-new city sewer system.
Yeah.
So there will be, like I said, about 100. The project has been submitted for permit, and we're hoping to start real soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And Vice Mayor, I know this was your item. I didn't want to step on your toes, but I just wanted for the public to, when they start seeing things happening, that it's such a good project, and you really crafted it very well. So thank you for doing that. But that public knows, hey, we really are making those major improvements, and you have to go through a little bit of the digging and the mess and all that, but the ultimate goal is a good one. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you. That was my question, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to just kind of dovetail for a moment here. I mean, the city does, you're right, the phase one was tremendous. I've never seen an operation go so smoothly and come out so well. And so that gives me great confidence in phase two. There is another phase, however, that is going to be conducted by Broward County, and I just want to take the opportunity to remind us to be a little bit diligent in how that process is going to go, because there's a Broward County service area within the Pines Village. Mm-hmm. They are currently in design, I believe at this point, to do very similar to add to upgrade the water and to add sewer where necessary. And I just hope that we are able to communicate their timing of things, and that we are able to encourage them to give the same kind of care to our residents that we give them. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to say that.
I have a question.
Thank you, sir.
When do you think we'll get those 100 people into Pembroke Pines?
They are in Pembroke.
I'm sorry,
No,
could
they're
you
not.
repeat the question?
They're in Pembroke Pines, but they're controlled by the county.
No, the 100 are in our city, Mayor.
I understand it, but like he just said,
Although that's a different group. There's, I think,
Yeah.
500 or
Another
600 homes
I thought
that
it
are
was
not.
100.
No, the
Yes,
100
sir.
are the only homes in Pembroke Pines that are still on septic tanks.
And the county,
The county has everything south of
Okay.
9th
My
Street.
mistake.
Correct.
Good. All
that
right.
they're working.
We're north
Further
of
discussion. Forget my discussion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. All right, we're on item 11, Commissioner Good.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So item number 11 is motion to approve the minutes of the November 17, 2021 regular commission meeting.
Commissioner Schwartz, second. Go ahead.
So I'm speaking to item 16 of the November 17 commission meeting. And I asked my colleagues to support me in deferring any action on this item until the minutes are better reflecting what took place on item 16. So if we look at item 16, page 5 at the top, speaks to a motion made by Vice Mayor Good, seconded by Commissioner Schwartz to amend the amended motion. The amended motion failed. So my concern is that there is no content of what that amended motion was. So there was actually a motion made, it was seconded, it was discussed, it was voted on, but yet the minutes do not reflect what the motion was. So all I care about is
You
that
want a
the motion.
transcript?
I'm not looking for a transcript necessarily, as much as I'm looking for what the motion was.
City Clerk, can we do that tonight?
Mayor, yes, we can.
Let's do it tonight.
But I'd like to see it before I approve that.
She's gonna tell you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I can quickly, just to offer
Or,
some
I'm sorry,
assistance. Mr.
City
Mayor.
Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Vice Mayor's benefit, I know the clerk is looking into the background, but what I believe the Vice Mayor is trying to accomplish is to clarify what the minutes should reflect based upon the motion that was not specified.
I understand.
That is what
So she can
theoretically
do
is
that.
missing.
She can do that. Well, good. Go ahead, City Clerk.
I'm sorry, Mayor, are you asking for a report this evening, or if
Yeah.
I can bring it back to you?
Well, can you do
or
it
to the
this evening?
commission?
The verbiage that the Vice Mayor is asking for.
Oh, I will need a little time.
All right, that's fine. All right, so you want to defer,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to defer then.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, City Clerk, call the roll.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, to interrupt for a moment, to just diplomatically, the motion to defer is deferring the approval of the minutes,
Correct.
requiring further clarification.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, for
Thank you.
clarifying that.
All right, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo? I'm sorry, Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Mayor Ordus.
Mayor Ordus?
Yeah.
Motion
I'll get you
passes.
for that.
Motion to defer passes.
Okay. All right. Quasi judicial consent agenda, City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, there are no specific items. The next item up for the record would be item number 12.
Let's do it.
Mayor Reed?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item number 12 is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2021-28 on first reading, which is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, amending Appendix A of Title 15 of Chapter 150 of the city's Code of Ordinances by updating the building permit fee schedule attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing for codification, providing for conflict, severability, and finally, providing for an effective date. Item number 12, 2021-28. Thank you.
Thank you.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Seifel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mayor and Commission, I cannot tell you, although I'd like to, as to when the second reading will occur, but it will occur in the near future in these chambers.
Let's do it. Item 13, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Item number 13 is a motion to approve the assignment of the agreement with DBI, that's DBI Services LLC, for the operation, maintenance, and management of the city's right-of-ways to D'Angelo Contracting Services, DCS, with backup provided for in the Green Book and online. It's a motion to approve. Item number 13, reference is 21-1021 on the floor. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seifel, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
I'd like to make a comment here.
Oh, okay, I asked if there was any comment.
So, I really don't have a whole lot of questions. I understand what I'm reading, what I see. I still, in my opinion, don't believe that this is in the best interest of the city. It's not anything to do with the contractor who is taking over the DBI contract. It has everything to do with, I believe that what we pay for this service is it could be better served. And I think this is one of those opportunities where we should really consider taking this type of service back in-house at the numbers that are being provided here and at the number of staffing required in order to be able to perform this service. I do believe that we would be better served doing this in a totally different way, not through a contract services. So I won't be able to support this.
City Manager, any comment?
Mr. Mayor, we definitely would disagree with that. There are savings. There have been savings in the past for the community, and I believe it is in the best interest of the city for it to be contracted out.
Okay, discussion?
Question? Mayor?
Go ahead. Commissioner Schwartz?
Mr. Dodge, does this contract include a performance bond?
City Manager?
Mr. Attorney, I believe it does, but I don't have it in front of me.
I don't either.
Mr. Gomes here, does he know that?
I believe they all do, but let us just.
Yeah, I figured that they would, because this is a default, and we should collect.
How is it a default?
Well, because we're signing a contract that's costing us more money.
We're mitigating.
You know, the whole purpose of a performance bond is if a contractor can't perform, we collect on them. That's how it works.
Point of information?
So,
Point of information, Commissioner
Well,
Castillo.
the company that
Mr.
had the
City
contract
Attorney,
with-
could you,
no
explain,
longer
my
in
colleague, very quickly, the
Bond's still
law and surety? Bond?
First of all, the backup does not include a copy of the original agreement. I have to actually look at that to find out the language. I believe there is a bonding requirement in there because that otherwise would not have been signed off to begin with. But a performance bond is exactly what it says it's for. It's to guarantee performance, for failure of the contractor to perform. It is not necessarily a situation where you're assigning a contract, which is not a default in and of itself. It's simply an assignment. You are if you take action this evening to accept this assignment to D'Angelo from DBI, you're not declaring a default. You're simply permitting an assignment. So there's been no legal default or contractual default under the contract.
Okay.
yeah, see.
All right, Commissioner Schwartz?
Yeah.
It's a fine line of conversation, but
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line of conversation, and the thing is we're getting jammed. We're absolutely getting jammed. So I would say that I think it's in our best interest to go out to bid and collect on that performance bond.
Do we have time for that?
We certainly have interest on the street for those who want to do business with us. But, you know, I listened to the testimony from a couple weeks ago. There's been a reduction in staff, but there's not a reduction in the cost of the contract. And the whole point is if you're going to do business with the city, you're going to go ahead and you're going to post bond, and if you can't perform, we're going to collect on it.
Point of information.
Hold on. Mr. Dodge, what is the cost of 2 employees?
Well, what I would like, Mr. Gomes to address that regarding a reduction in staff and the cost of this contract.
The staff went from 8 to 6. What is, Mr. Gomez?
Good evening, everyone. Mark Gomes, Procurement Director. I believe the contractor's here tonight, but I believe what he stated at the last meeting is that they had 8 staff members, and they kept, of the existing employees that were working for DBI, they kept 6 of those, but they're still going to have 8 positions. So they're not reducing staff. They just did not have all of the same staff members retained from the previous contractor.
Okay. Further questions?
If I may, Mr. Gomes.
Point of information,
Is
Commissioner
that your
Castillo?
interpretation, or is that?
Point of information,
No, that's a
Commissioner
fact.
Castillo?
Thank you. So, Mr. City Attorney, I just want to make sure, Sam?
Mr. Mayor, when I get a chance.
So I just want to make sure, that we all sort of understand. So surety bonds don't work in the way that has been suggested. It's not like something happens, okay, let's stop, let's collect the surety bond, and then go out to bid. And instead of mitigating the damage, which we can do, and then later on, maybe we get a new contractor, might even be them. That's not the way surety bonds work. So I think that what staff has said is that the work is relevant, the work is important, the amount of money that is on the table is the same as before. And we're simply moving from one corporate entity to another with the very same staff. Mr. Disciple was very keen on asking, what happens to the staff? And as I recall, they're even going to give them a raise compared to the last group that they were with. So the surety bond thing is not applicable in the sense that it's been presented. Mr. Attorney, am I far from the from the case on this?
a couple of things if I can, Mayor. In the original agreement, there's not just a performance bond, there's also a payment bond. There are both, which is not typical, but is required under this agreement. But there's been no default. And if I may, a default basically means non-performance and failure to perform in the context of being a default. I don't think the city ever has given the contractor, the current contractor, a default notice. And that if there is such a default, we would then require a process. The process then requires notification of the carrier. The carrier then would have to review the matter. And it's not as easy as just saying, you're in default, give me a check. it is a little more challenging sometimes to get an insurance company to pay anything, quite frankly.
Commissioner Schwartz, want to say?
Yeah, to the city attorney.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, yeah, because they bailed on us, man. That's why we didn't do it. They jumped out. They're gone.
What is
okay?
your point?
So of course we didn't have an opportunity to default them. I'm saying we can do that tonight. Put them on notice tonight and go out to bid. In the meantime, the manager can use his emergency powers under the charter to go ahead and conduct services for 180 days, which certainly we can do with whoever he finds is appropriate. That's the appropriate step. We can't let them off the hook like that.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
If I may address this first, I think the first thing we're talking about, DBA, which is a significant company worldwide, they went out of business. So it's a different situation that this company couldn't perform. They're not performing anyway. They had all the contracts for the state highways and everything else. They couldn't get workers. They went out of business. I'd also like to point to the young man standing in front of you. His name's Quentin Williams. He worked for us as a city employee. And if you remember, when we went out to DBI, and at that time, I know Quentin was very upset about leaving a city position and working for a company. They retained as many of those employees that could do backgrounds, and he has been supervising this contract for all these years. I have full faith in this young man working for the new company to continue what we're doing. So
Bring them back.
So
Yeah, bring them back.
you may, but the
When
cost of services are more. And we did an analysis for you. It's in your backup. It will cost you more as city employees with, if you even look at all of the cases we had of liability, I believe our HR director gave me a list of any time there was an issue, we turned it over to DBI and they handled that claim. So there are other expenses that are not just the salary for the employee and the equipment you need and the materials you need, but it's up to the commission. If your desire is to rebid it, I'm telling you, I don't believe it's going to come in cheaper. Secondly, if you wish to bring this back in-house, it's going to cost you more money. So that affects your budget. You just have to make that decision.
Quentin, you want to say a couple of remarks? Name, please.
My name's Quentin.
You're on.
Okay. My name's Quentin Williams, and yes, I worked for 33 years for the city of Pembroke Pines. I live in Davie, Florida, 4741 Southwest 57th Avenue. I don't get to live in the city. I didn't choose that. But anyhow, yes, I mean, there's not really much I don't know about the city of Pembroke Pines. What you all expect, what I expect, what the residents expect. I put the city of Pembroke Pines on the highest level of everything that I've always done and I do and I will do. Moving forward, like Mr. Castillo says, it's just a different name. It's going to be the same people. I'll run it with the same confidence. I'll take care of everything, every need. I work really good with the Public Works Department. Any issues they have over and beyond our contract, I'm there. We take care of it. There's a lot of odds and ends. I can just go on and on.
Okay.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Seipel?
Thank you, Mayor. This current contract ends in October of 2023, correct? The contract that we're in right now would end, okay. And then there's also a portion in here, Article 14, which is termination, and it says, City Attorney, tell me if I'm correct or not on this, 90 days prior to the effective date.
Correct.
So at some point, we could give notice that we were going, if we were unhappy with what, you know, if you guys are here and you're working,
right, and
we find that we are not happy with what you are doing, how you're doing it, we can start the termination process clearly. So while we, and I hear what my colleagues are saying about the city, we were thrown into kind of a predicament. You all were kind of thrown into a predicament and were able to, fortunately, I guess, step up to the plate and be able to come in to take over for us almost a day's notice, kind of that quickly. And that is appreciated because life has to go on every single day, stuff has to still happen. But again, we have an option that if we are not happy, we can start the termination process, or we can give them time until the contract naturally runs out, 2023, which I think for a project like this, a contract like this, we're looking at, I don't know, Mr. Gomes, how long would you think if this went out on the street, how long do you think that it would take to put it out, get it back, and actually make an award?
That's a good question. I think last time, I'm not 100% sure, it might have taken about 6 months. This, when it went out last time, it was a RFQ process. After the RFQ, you obviously have the evaluation committee meeting process.
Right.
And then we also have to negotiate a contract for numbers if we went the same route.
Right, so the whole process was 6, 8 months or somewhere around
Somewhere around there.
Great.
So, I mean, we still have, you know, folks, we still have that option, and we can certainly do that. And I do think that, you know, it is good to test the waters and see what's out there. And, you know, you guys, you're gonna respond, you're gonna answer, and cream's gonna rise to the top. If you guys are doing a great job and everything else, you're gonna score very, very well. You should never be, you know, afraid or hesitant about putting your good works out on paper for an RFP. It really should not be.
Good.
But it makes it easier for us up here to say, you know what, we did test it, and we did see, you know, is it best that way? Is it best that we want to bring it back in-house? I mean, I don't know what the answers will be, but bring it back in-house, in which case, Mr. Dodge, we would have to talk to you about finances and how all that would have to work. But, you know, again, it seems to me that over the last couple of years, I've heard on more than one occasion from my colleagues a desire sort of to look at bringing things back, you know, back in-house. And it's always been said, well, it's going to cost, you know, too much money, it's going to cost too much money, it's going to cost too much money. And I have to always say, well, maybe, but if a private company can do it for a certain number of dollars, why can we not do for a certain number of dollars as well? I mean, that, to me, is a very logical question. So I'm going to support this tonight, and I thank you all for stepping up to the plate. Where we go from here, it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to depend on how you all produce. Do we say we're not happy and we're going to exercise the termination part, or are we going to stay and then RFP or RFQ, whatever it'll be, go out for bid when the contract?
Let's hear what the commission wants to do. City Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor, I have a follow-up.
And I'd like to make a comment.
You already spoke?
Yeah, but I'd like to make another comment.
Okay, Commissioner Schwartz, then we're going to go on with the item.
Mr.
Then
Dodge,
give Vice Mayor.
Mr. Dodge, this concept of privatization, I'll go to the water department. It was supposed to be economies of scale, large company, they can buy materials at a much lower cost because they can spread it out, they get the best deal possible. You have a national firm like DBI go belly up. Certainly they had economies of scale. They were in several states, regional. Where's the cost savings here?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last question.
The cost savings in material. How do we utilize economies of scale and large purchase with this contract?
Well, I think the analysis that we did, Commissioner, showed there was, Mark, was it about $150,000 or more in savings? That was just based on salaries and equipment and operations. And I believe there was a cost that we didn't factor in, that our HR director did, and I forget what that dollar amount was, but it was significant based on somebody going into a pothole. We turned it over to the insurance of that company, and they had to handle it. So we can get those numbers as well.
That's fine, Mr. Dodge. I'm asking about actual material.
Well, the material, what their cost would be, I don't know. As far as how much asphalt they use, how much concrete they pour in replacing sidewalks, it is what it is. According to the cost above this contract for the city would be $464,317 based on a report that we provided to the commission.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Dodge, but that's not the question I'm asking. I understand labor, I understand that.
So what are you asking
healthcare.
specifically?
I'm asking
So we can move on.
specifically material cost.
Mr. Gomes, you have material costs?
What are we doing to ensure that, you know?
Well, let's get an answer. We heard the question. Mr. Gomes, we have material costs.
I personally would not be able to answer that. I don't know their specific material costs, and what our material costs would be for a per unit of whatever item we're buying. As you know, like, Commissioner Schwartz stated, economy scale impacts things. So if the city or the vendor were to buy certain materials in larger quantities, we can get, larger discounts. I don't know what their specific plans and how they operate their business, and how the city would, if we did bring it in-house, how we would purchase those things, and if we'd store things in certain ways. Obviously, like Commissioner Schwartz said, if it was a national company that buys with large contracts for multiple states or agencies, they could be additional savings on those economies of scale.
Okay. Commissioner Schwartz, you got your answer?
No.
Also, you have to consider, when you talk about the economies of scale, this company, I believe, is not just handling the city of Pembroke Pines. I believe, sir, that you also have other contracts within it. So this is just not a standalone.
I'd like to be able to ask some questions, because it was actually, the item says that there was going to be a presentation.
We have a presentation
I have it in the backup.
available.
I looked at it, and it's still not in there. So I have a question, and Quentin, thank you so much for your service. You're awesome, man. Can we find out, when we have sidewalks and when we have asphalt repairs, where is the material being sourced from? And is the cost to the city going to change based upon the material acquisition?
Who'd like to answer that?
I don't know.
I got that answer. So for potholes, we buy some community asphalt. We buy it by the ton. I researched that myself. You can go to Home Depot and get it by the bag. The bag is like $5. So if you buy a pallet, it's $450. If you buy it by a ton raw, it's $150. Cutting costs there. With the concrete, we're constantly researching to find the cheapest concrete. I mean, we did at Banizak when I was with the city. They were bought out by Uzinga or something like that. They're ridiculous in their price. So we got some mom and pop place that delivers concrete. It's the same product, a lot less. Instead of it being $150 for 3,000 PSI, it's about like $125. As far as guardrail, most of our guardrails are guardrail hits. We do third party with that. No cost to you, none at all.
Quentin, we had a fence contractor, wasn't able to perform. Staff came up with a 17% increase to their contract because of material. What guarantees are we going to have that we're not going to have a supply chain issue, that the ton of asphalt that you're going to get, given oil prices, isn't going to triple overnight to the point that you get crushed, that you can't make payroll because you're spending all this money on material? See, this is a two-way street. That's what I'm trying to get to. We can certainly calculate X number of dollars for personnel costs, but at the end of the day, you got to keep the lights on.
Right.
So what's the plan here? Because we know we have a governor cutting fuel tax, so our road and bridge is going to get hammered next year, which means that
that's infrastructure money, Tom.
Well, Mayor.
Well, you got to say it right.
Mayor, you know what? Until we actually get the money.
Okay, but you can't say that one and not the other. You got surtax coming from the penny tax. You got money's coming in. The NPO's got money coming in.
Hammered.
Well, you got to say it all, Commissioner. You can't just say part of it.
Well, we can
just
say
because it's your opinion.
And we can say it without yelling, sir.
Well,
we can say it without yelling.
Okay.
Let's take it down.
All right, are you good?
So, Quentin, what's the plan?
Okay, with what you said, I can't guarantee what's happening tomorrow with oil or anything like that, so I can't sit there and write you a guarantee. Might mean nothing here. I can give you my word that I am going to do everything I can to keep this contract for the minimum of 2 years. Hopefully, we'll do a good job, and then we'll get the next 5 after that.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
There's no guarantee of what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm sorry, I don't have a great answer for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and again, you know, I'm certain your talents and skills are Class A plus.
Thank you.
And, you know, seriously, we'd love to have you here, but I don't want to cloud it anymore. I think Commissioner Schwartz actually brought up a totally different issue other than, you know, comparing it to an in-source. He's still making reference to an outsourced format, not an in-source format. And he brings up a very good question. This company defaulted by stating on October 22nd at 5:30 p.m., no less, to the Public Services Director, we're closing our doors effective immediately. That's a notice of default to the city. And so I'm asking questions right now, why we didn't execute on immediately going after their performance bond. I mean, they do have a performance bond, is that correct?
Mr. Gomes?
Yes, there was a performance bond requirement in the, payment and performance bond requirement in the original contract.
Was it active when they effective immediately shut their doors? Did we have an active performance and payment bond?
My understanding would be yes.
Okay. Because what happens at that point then, Commissioner Schwartz is very correct in the sense of we could have went ahead and utilized the service of anybody. They could have charged us anything, and by the performance bond, we would not have to pay any more than what we were contractually obligated to.
Point of information, Commissioner Castillo.
Was there a break in performance?
Mr. Dodge?
There was no break in performance. It was a company
So
that
if
went
there's
out of
not a break
business.
in performance, you can't collect on a performance
How
bond.
can there not be break when they just don't?
I asked the question, is there a break in performance, and they said no.
Well, I'm asking, how can that be?
Okay, how can that be?
Mr. Dodge?
The way I understood the question is that a break in performance before they closed their doors, did they not perform? They performed right up to that date. I don't even believe they even notified their employees that they were shutting their doors down. At 5:30, they
And
heard
then
it
who
at the same
performed
time.
after that?
Doesn't matter, it was nobody under
Okay,
contract.
I'm sorry, I'm asking a question.
Nobody
Who
was under
performed
contract.
after that?
Hold on, Vice.
Well, it was limited, and we tried to do the best we can, but
With who?
with city staff, and I believe we utilized Quentin and some of their services to fill in during that period of time.
So then why wouldn't you ask for a performance bond? If we went out of pocket, why wouldn't you ask for a performance bond review for that period of time?
Well, that's something we certainly can deal with.
Well, I think you should.
Well, with the city attorney. However, when you say out of pocket, the monies that we were paying DBI, we were using those dollars to continue services.
Because when I
going.
inquired, I was
So it
told there was
additional
no performance, break in performance.
Mayor, I have a
So-
question.
Hold on, Vice Mayor's still
I'm
on
sorry.
board. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess where I'm trying to go to is that we could have continued service and called on the performance bond, and if our cost was $100 a day and we were being charged $200 a day, the performance bond would be paying the extra $100, and we would not be paying any more than $100. And you could do that for as long as you needed to until you got into a solution. I think that's where Commissioner Schwartz was trying to go, where, you know, we should have executed on a performance bond, allow the company to continue doing what they're doing, let them charge whatever they charge, go ahead to the performance bond, get the balance of what is due to them, and we still don't go out of pocket per the contract, which is why we get the performance bond, and then go out to bid if that's what it is, and then, or negotiate a better deal. So I clearly hear that, and that even makes it even more important for me to not approve this signing.
Okay, Commissioner Cyple.
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney,
Yes, ma'am.
DBI was acting under an existing contract with the city, and the city was working with DBI under an existing contract, mutually agreed to contract, correct?
So far, that's correct.
And that contract was not due to expire until October of 2023.
Correct.
And in that mutually agreed upon contract, there are provisions, which I think I even mentioned, provisions for termination
And for default.
that could be exercised by either party with
Yes.
whatever the criteria was. So so in this particular case, there was a immediate cessation of work by virtue of a 5:30 PM email that went out, and too bad, so sad, guys, fend for yourself tomorrow because we're done. So does not the city that still has this contract that has not, they did not officially terminate, we did not officially terminate, and there are expectations on an mutually agreed upon contract. Where does that place us in this, how should we be financially covered or not?
Mr. Dodge?
It's a legal question. The answer is, Mayor and Commission, to the Commissioner, Commissioner Seipel, yes, you have a contract with a company that's no longer functioning. That seems to be what the facts reveal, that they're no longer able to perform. Non-performance and the discussion regarding a break in performance is something which is now being made known on the record from staff. So if the City Commission were to accept the assignment to the new entity, then essentially you would I don't want to use the word sidestepping, but you might be impacting your ability to collect on the bond that otherwise may still currently exist. So if you did permit if you permit the assignment and don't choose to go after the assigning party, I don't want to suggest any moment of time on the record a waiver of rights, because I wouldn't want to do that, but it might open up a door of discussion that could suggest that. Not by me, of course, but by some third party.
All right. Call the roll, please, City Attorney, City Clerk.
On the assignment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mayor?
We're on item 12.
Yes.
13, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
No.
Vice Mayor Good?
No.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Good discussion, thank you. Item 15, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
I need him to call me. Call me.
Item 15, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Item 15 on the agenda is item 21-1065. It's, for the record, a discussion and possible action regarding imposition of a non-ad valorem solid waste assessment in the city beginning on fiscal year 2022 through 23, as requested by Commissioner Schwartz, the backup of which is in the Green Book and online. It would be a discussion of possible action on the floor for consideration. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. And colleagues, thank you for allowing staff to provide additional information.
Yeah.
There are a few things that did not make it to the backup. Number one, if this were to pass this evening, there is a required 4-week advertisement and a public hearing. So this isn't the last stop tonight. This will come back the first meeting of February. At that point, it's still not the last stop. There is a trim notice in June, which the commission would have the opportunity to weigh in on whether or not it's going to implement or execute the option of this type of building. What is not in the backup is the amount of interest that we would make on the $12 million in getting the money all up front, which would certainly lessen the overall cost expressed in the backup of $511,000. What is not in the backup is the calculation of how many actual properties would be impacted. The 511 represents 100% of all billables, with assuming that everyone gets a discount and everyone pays in November. I've spent the last few days with the city administration discussing these items and encouraged an update before tonight's agenda item. It did not make it. With respect to, I guess, number one of the disadvantages of $13.17 per year, there's an assumption by city administration, I believe they are incorrect in their assumption, that our current vendor would not be amenable between now and February to work out a solution so that this is there's basically a zero cost net neutral thing. There's also an opportunity should the current hauler wish to participate, that the city would actually be in a better cash position than it is now with respect to the commercial collection. So what I'd like to be able to do tonight is get your support to get this through the next step in the process. This is clearly not the end of the road, but to give the city manager the opportunity to sit down with the hauler to make sure that whatever we do, it's going to be a net neutral, and that it's only going to be a benefit to the resident and a benefit to the city at large.
Mr. Dodge, have you had a discussion with the solid waste?
Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, the commissioner and I really haven't had that much of a discussion. I know Commissioner Schwartz has met with the finance director, has had conversations with Ainer. I don't know if either one of them would want to address that. If you're asking me to sit down with the hauler to see if there's some way we can bridge that gap, and I believe it was about $400,000 additional cost if you did an assessment on an annual basis versus doing the monthly payment. I believe it reflected about $13 a month is what I was told. If it's the desire for us to meet with them to see if there's some way that they would be willing to do it, we certainly can. The issue you have with that, you understand that if it becomes an assessment, we do not receive any revenue for solid waste probably until sometime in November, and maybe by January you might be up around 90% of the collection of all the funds. So then the city would be fronting to the hauler the cost of paying for the solid waste collection for the months of October, November, December, and January, and then we would have the surplus money, hope that would carry you through the rest of the year. So it's things that we really have to look at to see what the net, but
So
based upon Commissioner Schwartz's request of the finance director, she did prepare the schedule for you. I thought it was copied to all of the commissioners.
And
Yes.
It was, okay, so you did receive that.
Yeah, so Mayor, I'm not asking for a deferral at all. What I'm asking for is for us to move forward with advertising for a public hearing on the first meeting in February. This is going to give us a solid 2 months to go ahead and work out some of these things. I have a good feeling that it's going to be able to get worked out. With respect to the $13.17 per year as the disadvantage, once you back out the interest, it's less than 89 cents a month to the resident right now. And my suggestion is to have the manager work with the hauler in order to make sure that there's not even an 89-cent issue. So my motion would be to approve the item and to approve the item tonight, to advertise for the next 4 weeks, and to have a public hearing on February 3rd.
Second. There's a second. Second by Vice Mayor. Discussion.
I have a question.
Commissioner Cycle.
Okay, so Commissioner Schwartz, your item that was on here, the language that was here was discussion and possible action. you're doing away with that and you're really making new language as to what you're asking for, correct? Because this is like.
Fair enough. I'll ask the city attorney.
City attorney?
I'm not suggesting that the language that I just laid out there is the one that's gonna get us to the place that we want to be.
Well, then that's what I want to know.
But I know that the city attorney has specific language that he would need to prepare for the clerk to advertise for the next 4 weeks.
4 consecutive weeks.
Four consecutive weeks, which would wind up being a public hearing on February the 3rd.
Okay, so, all right, so what you've asked for here is sort of what you're asking for, but it's very different language. It's giving direction to do something that's a little bit different. What you're asking for now is that we're really more taking this to the public, which this didn't really necessarily say in here.
Right.
And that's what I want to make clear, that
Yeah,
that's no action until we've gone to the public.
Wait, Commissioner Murphy.
Correct, because item 15 as written fell short of what the process actually is. So tonight was never going to be the final the final step.
So I just want to make sure that I understand. So what you're asking for then is the intent of moving forward with looking at this, but first, all that you're asking for is the proper advertisement, 4 weeks advertisement, in order to have the public come in
Correct.
and have this explained to them, and for us to get feedback and then decide how we're
Correct.
going forward.
Exactly.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly.
All
Okay,
right,
fine.
we all clear?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sorry?
I'd like to speak.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes, thanks. So when this item first came up, I didn't know much about it. I had heard about these assessments, but I didn't really know very much about it. And I asked the manager and the finance director to put together for me a listing of pros and cons, which they put together for me. And later on, they shared those pros and cons with the commission. The pros were unimpressive, and the cons were significant. This would raise costs while adding no new value to the city. None that I can see, because what we have right now works perfectly fine. And the notion that we should go to any vendor, including this one, who coincidentally happens to, service our trash, to make up the difference while gaining, that's just not a good way to do business. I can't bring myself to do that. It's just not the way to do it. So I can't support this under any circumstance, because I have yet to be, even though there's a deadline, and I can understand where there may be urgency on the part of some to move forward because there's some kind of deadline, the case hasn't even been made to convince me that this is a good idea. I still don't see what the value of this is. So I'm not going to be supporting it.
Okay. Brother, Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate Commissioner Castillo asking for the pros and cons. I think that was a good start. I think there might be more information that may be added to this. I mean, there's, I don't know that there's any reference to what is currently the uncollectibles. What is that value? I don't know that there's anything in here about, how much interest you collect off of investing, nearly $12 million, or you probably can't keep it all, I understand, but it's about $1 million a year that you would draw that down. I mean, I don't know what the analysis to that is. I understand that there may be a need to increase the rate, but I don't know if it's the full 13, 17 for the year. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the exercise here, and bringing it forward. And, listen, it's nice to be able to have that money up front and, be able to count on being able to pay your bills, from the very beginning of the year.
Got to be a good steward and get it all right.
And I can tell you that, and it's not just for the hauler. There's a disposal component here too that we haven't talked about. I mean, we're making it look like the hauler's going to eat the $511,000. That ain't all. I mean, there's a disposal component that we agreed to that we're paying directly now. We're not giving it to the hauler to pay for. So that's another element of the pros and cons that hasn't been added. I just think it just needs to be enhanced a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
City Clerk, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good,
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
Nope.
Mayor Ordus,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, thank you. League, tomorrow is a board meeting,
Yes.
and I'm going to Fort Myers. We have a trust meeting in Fort Myers from Florida League.
Coral Springs meeting.
What's that?
It's in Coral Springs tomorrow.
But he was going to the West Coast.
No, I'm going to Fort Myers.
Well, I'm going to Coral Springs.
Well, go. You don't need permission.
I don't think I was asking you, I think I was
Manager?
telling you what I was doing.
Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one item. January 19th, there's a couple of commissioners that have other commitments on that date. What I would like to suggest, since January 5th is the first meeting after the holiday break where the schools are closed right up till December 31st, I would like to suggest that we combine the meeting of January 5th and the meeting of January 19th and make one meeting in January on the second Wednesday, which is January the 12th.
I'll move
That's
that.
a good idea.
I'll move that.
I have to check.
That's good.
All right, so there was all right, do you need an answer tonight?
Well, it would be
We
good
need to.
because we have to advertise
Let's see who can do it
ordinances
tonight,
the
then we
second
can-
and final
Yeah.
reading.
You wanna have it what day?
January the
January
12th, which, if I have that correct, that's the second meeting in,
You said the 5th.
It's the second one.
January 12th, which is the second meeting,
Oh.
second Wednesday of,
I thought you said the 5th.
of the month.
I'm free that
I'm
night,
good.
but I'll need an email, okay?
I'm free too. All right, how about the 12th?
That's it.
That's
Right.
it. We would have one meeting,
Okay,
January
without
12th.
objection?
And
Show
that would be it.
consensus.
Is that
Yeah.
okay with everybody?
It's called consensus.
Yeah, I have a question for the manager, unrelated to this,
Well, okay, hold on. Okay, we're all set with that, city attorney?
If you,
One meeting.
if you confirm on the record that you have consensus, Mayor,
I did.
you do.
All right. Commissioner Schwartz, you have something?
yes, city manager, the agenda came out today. Last meeting, we moved that the, agenda was gonna change with one additional item. If we could just make sure that the commission auditor slot is on the next agenda. I know they have nothing going on there, but let's just place it as a marker, going forward, okay?
Okay, was that approved?
Yeah.
I think we're waiting for second reading.
Is the second reading on that
Second
one?
reading.
Which
No,
is
it
gonna be on the
hasn't-
17th.
Now it'll be probably on the 12th.
All right.
Okay, that's
City
fine.
attorney.
I do, Mayor and Commission,
Okay.
if I may quickly. As you know, and you've seen my emails over the past number of days with regard to the pending litigation between the City of Pembroke Pines and the City of Hollywood, the matter did not successfully conclude at mediation for a recommendation to the Mayor and Commission. I need your advice, I need your direction and guidelines. Under Chapter 286, I'm requesting on the record a shade meeting for the three cases that are consolidated before Judge Frink. The case numbers for the record, Madam Clerk, are 18-002017, case number 01-014030, and case number 18-015330, all of which have been consolidated before Judge Frink in the Broward Circuit Court. I've advised the commission and the mayor with regard to the pendency of the matter. Specifically, if you will, there is a calendar call coming up at the end of January. There are motions for summary judgment to be heard on December the 20th. I would ask for you, respectfully would ask that the mayor and commission by motion authorize a shade meeting to occur on December the 15th in these chambers with Cindy Laquadera, who's the outside special counsel from the Ackerman Law Firm, at 5:30 p.m., and we would appropriately post notice as required by state law.
You know, really,
I do
when
need your advice.
when the main people of Hollywood don't show up for mediation, that's pretty galling. That is pretty galling. So I'm gonna support that 100%. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seipel. Discussion.
Is an hour enough, city attorney?
I'm sorry?
Is an hour enough?
It should be. Ms. Laquadera, who's in Jacksonville, will dial in through WebEx, and she
The
will...
last one didn't take long.
Yeah, I just don't wanna hold the public up at 6:30, that's all.
Vice Mayor, you got something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is this discuss about incorporating the city of Hollywood into?
No, no.
By the time they owe us, you might.
Good night,
Need a
everybody.
motion on the motion pass?
adjourned.
Motion pass? Motion pa-
Commission meeting.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, the motion passed to authorize a shade meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
5 minutes.
We have a motion to adjourn?
We did.
We'll coordinate.
You missed it.
Thank you, Marlene.
Uh,